Hello and good evening. Welcome. My name is Phil Boltz, and I am the communications chair for Muncie Resists. Tonight's event, Educating Legislators, is focused on hearing some voices and perspectives from teachers. And this year, Muncie Resists has been central to numerous public discussions addressing critical race theory, the COVID pandemic, public resources. Muncie Resists advocacy in these efforts have included the Muncie Community Schools emergency management legislation, Black Lives Matter protests, and recent curricular discussion at Muncie Central. Additionally, our 2021 disinformation series directly addressed the issues of identifying disinformation amidst critical race theory and social and emotional learning. And we've as well had events where we supported reproductive freedom in Indiana. This evening, we are joined by some educators. And as we pivot to a discussion, as you may be aware, in Indiana, House Bill 1134 has just made its way out of the Senate committee, the Senate Education Committee. And currently, a host of anti-critical race theory legislative initiatives are being considered in state governments across the United States. Mixed into those elements are long-term effects of school choice and privatization agenda, as well as anti-masking, anti-vaccination, COVID protests. Recent contentious school board meetings and testimonies have resulted in multiple viral videos in which teachers and schools have been viciously redressed. And so we're here to talk tonight. Julie, do you want to jump in there?
Sure. So our goal when we were in our Muncie Resist meeting, talking about what we could do for educators, we kind of thought of this event just to get a feeling of how you were dealing with the current legislation that was being considered, and also just kind of get a feel for where you've been the past 2-3 years dealing with COVID and how it's impacted your classroom, and maybe talk a little bit about how you've dealt with it. And, you know, Nancy and I have talked extensively about some of the new challenges too this year, having new students, the Afghan students who have come, and things like that have really posed some interesting challenges too for educators. So I thought I could let you guys introduce yourselves. I'll start first and you can kind of feel what I'm doing. And then I'd like to hear from you and just kind of where you teach, maybe how long you've been teaching, and anything else you want to tell us. But just kind of a disclaimer real quick. You know, even though we all teach for Muncie Community Schools, nothing we say tonight is we're not representing Muncie Community Schools at all. We are private citizens who are really concerned about what's been happening in education. So my name is Julie Snyder, and I am the vice chair for Muncie Resist. But during the day, I teach government at Muncie Central High School, and I've been teaching in Muncie for 25 years. Prior to that, I have a little bit of private school experience. I taught at St. Lawrence for 4 years. So yeah, I'm old, I know. And so the people that I invited, I tried to get a spectrum of people from elementary, middle school, high school, just so we can kind of get a feel for what's happening in Muncie. So Nancy, you want to go next?
Sure. My name's Nancy Zachary, and this is my 11th year teaching. I'm at Northview Elementary. I teach kindergarten, so I'm at the complete other end of the spectrum. This is my second career in life. I had a career in business before going back to school to earn my teaching license. And this was a calling. I did work at my children's elementary school, and I loved it, and I knew this is what I wanted to do. So I have a perspective outside of working in a school, working in a nonprofit agency. My children are grown, so I have that experience behind me, and I do enjoy my work and working with the kids. It's exhausting, but I do enjoy it. And I do keep up with the legislation and try to be up on top of that affects us and our students.
Michelle?
Well, first of all, I think I take issue with that old comment because we went to college together.
Yeah.
So, but unlike Julia, I have not spent the entire time since graduating from college in education. I actually stayed home. I mommed. I ran a daycare and a preschool. So I returned to education. I think this is my 14th year. So, and when I started, my degree is just the same thing as Julia. I was a social studies educator. I probably only did that about 2 years, however. I kind of got drug, and I say that because it was really unwillingly, into at-risk education, and absolutely found my passion. So I would still love the social studies classroom, I'm sure, but working in the at-risk world is my jam. And I'm currently at Southside Middle School. This is my 3rd year there, although you couldn't convince me it's only been 3 years because it's been some long 3 years. And my role actually is not as a full-time teacher. I am the priority school supervisor. And recently I've had ISS thrust back on me. So I'm doing a combo of those 2 environments in one room. So I do teach every single day, but it's a different title. So I'm excited about this conversation tonight. I agreed when Julie asked me, although I'm not the Zoom guru, I don't spend a lot of time doing this kind of thing. I agreed because I needed to be a part of this conversation, and I'm actually hoping to take away from it things that are going to help myself and my colleagues do better with some of what we're facing. So thanks for having me.
Okay, AJ.
Hello, my name is AJ Bradley. I've been teaching, I believe this is year 18, all at MCS. The previous 17 was either at Wilson Middle School or then Southside Middle, and I moved to the high school this year. I've taught U.S. history, world history at the middle schools. Now at the high school, I teach world geography and world history as well. This meeting, Julie told me about it. I thought it was very interesting, especially for someone like me who went to Muncie schools. Like I graduated here, and this impacts me on all. Is 18 and my youngest is 2. So I have kids in high school and in elementary right now because I have another son who's in kindergarten. So the legislation that we're talking about and all the things in the news and the politics of education hit me a little differently because not only am I teaching, but like I can physically, see the impact some of this has on my kids and what it may have on my kids. So I have a vested interest in it and from multiple perspectives. So I thought this would be very good to get on here and listen and share my 2 cents and see what other people have to say.
Okay, great. Thanks, AJ. So I'll open it up. As Phil pointed out, today was kind of a key day. The 1134 made it out of the Senate committee. Now I had actually had a student down there serving as a page today. So she got to sit in on the committee meetings all day. And so she was kind of keeping me updated the whole time of what was happening. They basically took out most of the things that we were opposed to. But I still think there are some disturbing parts to it they're still having the committee and allowing parents on it and having a say in curriculum and things like that. And obviously it still has to be good for a vote for the whole Senate. And then I think it has to go to a conference committee since they made changes. So if I'm not mistaken. So I guess my first question, it's not really specifically about 1134, but it's about like just recent public discussions and proposals in general. Like, what are your thoughts on just like how many states are trying to pass such restrictive education bills? And how has that kind of impacted your psyche? You know what I mean? Like how you've been feeling in the classroom. And anybody can jump in if they want.
Well, I think that and I said this in the previous interview, but I think that we are working already in an era that is certainly the toughest in my career, we are already facing so many challenges in what we do every day. And then to be in that same season of incredible challenge, and right at the same time that's occurring, to have this kind of thing, which feels very much like an attack on what I spend every day doing. And as I look around me in my building, I see people working so hard, harder than we've ever worked before. And to know that we are giving that much, really just like our lifeblood, sometimes our tears, we're giving so much to our career that is under attack. That is really in some ways very much how these bills and other legislation across the country, it feels like we're under attack. And I recognize the thing that I really want to say about 1134 is I know that it has been highly amended and changed. But you know what? I guess that's good news. The bottom line for me is that it ever existed in its original form.
Yes.
That it ever existed in that original form speaks highly to what the problem is. The fact that they can hear from hundreds, if not thousands of individuals about the problems, and they recognize that it was making many, many people angry. And so they chop it up a little bit. Okay. At the end of the day, the thing that matters the most is that somebody ever thought, and it was a lot of somebody's, that was a good idea. And so that's where my discomfort comes in, because it's just one of many, and it can continue to happen. And it was chock full of false narratives, honestly, and I still think part of it is. So
yeah, and don't you think that was kind of that's what their intention was, to just make people believe those things? So I'm not even sure that they intended for it to pass in that form anyway. They just wanted to put it out there and make people believe those things. At least that's how I saw it. So I feel like you do, my colleagues and I all said, it doesn't really matter if it passes or not. The damage has kind of been done by it simply making it that far.
And what's coming next?
Yes.
That's kind of, it's waiting for the next thing to drop.
Well, I mean, 1040 is already out there, which has
Right.
the like restrictive speech and even talking about like not discussing LGBT rights and things like that.
Mhm.
So I mean, and
yeah,
and
Florida's got
the same people co-sponsored that. So
yeah, and Florida's bill like that is probably where I think it's very alarming. I'm a GSA sponsor at my school, so
sure.
It's just one more thing for that, the Don't Say Gay bill, as they're calling it, for the Florida bill. And we're working on similar legislation as our other states. To think that we have come so far, and then I think to have what that must feel like to some of our youth. I'm just going to really have trouble, because I've been doing a lot of reading about the Florida bill tonight, and just thinking about how that's going to make kids feel, how the kids in Florida must feel. It's infuriating to me. It's absolutely
they'll have nowhere to go.
Right. And some of these things, maybe they're not going to pass again, as I say, at the end of the day.